the top 5 teams. So I guess starting with my top 5. Number 5, I found a bit more difficult than I thought I would. I ended up going with the Dolphins, but I was very close to putting another team in there purely because if I was looking at when it comes to playoffs and the weather, I do have questions how this Dolphins team will play in the winter. But I almost put the Lions in as my top 5 team. I just like how they're coached and just how all 3 phases of the game, they're just a solid team. And they're a team no one wants to play, I don't think. It's always going to be a hard game. But I've gone with the Dolphins just because that offense is scary. The coach is calling up plays that are just great to watch. And it's an offensive league now, so you need to have an offense like that. I think at the weekend, A-Chain set the fastest speed a player has ran all year. And then literally 3 or 4 plays later, Tyreek Hill broke it. It was like, it's just not fair. Like, they are so quick. Still have concerns with the defense, more so the secondary. But yeah, that offense is always going to give you a chance to win games. Number 4, I've gone with the Bills. And I don't know how much to take what happened in the London game. I've got to look at the games before that where they were looking incredibly impressive. You can't just forget about the game against the Dolphins where they schooled them. There were extenuating circumstances last week, so I'll give them 1 free pass on that. See how they do this week. But still, a bit like the Dolphins, no one is ever going to look forward to playing the Bills, especially the defenses. How you stop Allen is the $1 million question. It's like similar with Hurts and Purdy now, and with the Dolphins. It's like choose your poison because they can beat you with their legs, they can beat you with their arms. Like with Purdy, they can beat you with CMC or with Purdy throwing it. There's just so many different ways, and Allen on his own has so many different ways. Chiefs number 3. I can't put them any higher than this because it's not a quarterback ranking, it's a team ranking. And unfortunately for Mahomes, especially if Kelsey isn't raring to go, they're really struggling at the skill positions. I'm praying that they make some trades before the deadline because it would be just unforgivable to give Mahomes at least another wide receiver, someone with a bit of experience that you can throw to in the 3rd downs on 3rd and long, like Brady had with Welker and with Edelman. When he was at Tampa Bay, he'd throw it to Evans usually in the 3rd down or Godwin, like Breeze had with Thomas. Manning had it with Marvin Harrison and then Reggie Wayne. Like he needs someone. He's got Kelsey, but you need that wide receiver as well, and they don't have that. Juju was a big miss. Hopefully they can get someone to go in the next few weeks. And then, I found it quite easy from this point. Eagles number 2, based off of performances up until now. I do think they are scary. That game when the 49ers play the Eagles is going to be an incredible game. I don't know where it's at. Where is it, Jay?
In Philly.
In Philly. So that, I think, like, I see the 49ers probably losing 2 games this year, and I think that will probably be one of them, which I think is a good thing. I don't like the added stress of trying to have an unbeaten season and things like that. It's you just need to let it go. But yeah, the pass rush. Carter had a huge sack at the weekend, which was awesome to see. And just how they beat you. Same thing like I was mentioning with Allen. They can beat you with the run. They can beat you by throwing it. And then if you think, right, we stopped them on 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 9, and they're 1 yard, even 2 yards short, they'll sneak it. No one can stop it. We've not seen, there's not many better in terms of Aaron Donald, who you would want pushing up against that O-line. And still, they made 2 yards on pretty much every play, if not more, when they ran that what is it, the tush push or whatever it's called now.
The brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove. I don't think it should be outlawed. It's part of the rules, you know, like find a way to stop it. It's 11 against 11. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, number one, 49ers. How can it not still? 49ers have been my number one now, I think, for 3 or 4 weeks. And it's comfortable. Similar to the Eagles. My only concern with the 49ers, and I've said it all year, is the secondary. But the way that front seven is playing, Warner, his leadership ability, the offensive line, Williams is just an absolute beast. He's just ridiculous on the O-line. Purdy, the weapons on the outside, CMC, the coach, everything just seems to have aligned for 49ers this year. And yeah, it's going to be, without looking too far ahead, it's the best year the best chance they're going to get probably. I can't see how they're going to have a better chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, a lot of stuff has to happen, and obviously health has to be a part of it. But if they stay healthy, this team is going to be so hard to beat, especially when it comes to winter. Because again, they will run the ball on you. They can do the short passes to their skill set positions and make plays out of nothing. And in the winter, in the rain, in the wind, in the snow, you want a solid front seven, and they're a match for anyone. So that's my top five. Jay, do you want to give us your top five?
So my top five this week has the same 5 teams as it did last week. And it has the same 5 teams that you have, Rob.
Okay.
So number 5, we've got the Dolphins. Still think that this offense is the hottest offense in the NFL, despite what the 49ers did on Sunday night. They actually dropped down this week, even though they won. But I couldn't put them above the team that is number 4, which is the Buffalo Bills, because we saw 2 weeks ago when they played each other that, the Bills, when they play at their best, can dominate the Dolphins. And when we get to January, cold weather, that could be a huge factor. So Dolphins at 5. I'm going to do the same as you, Rob. I think that the decision to travel on Thursday, Friday, just set up that team to fail. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a good first half from the Bills. When they woke up, it was kind of too late. So I'm not gonna, let the team suffer. They dropped 1 place, so they were 3 last week. They're now 4. The team that has jumped from 5 to 3 is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're winning. They are winning. But there is a lot wrong still with this team in terms of playing with the very best teams, I think. We know Mahomes is going to keep you in any game. He's proven that time and time again. But it's just not quite there, is it, with the Chiefs? Defensively, they've done very well. But have they come up against a juggernaut offense yet? I don't think so. So we're gonna really find out what they're made of when they start playing these bigger teams. And New Year's Eve, for example, Chiefs Bengals. That will be a great game. Looking forward. But they have been winning, and they've been kind of professional wins, if you like. They're not blowing teams out, but they're getting the job done. I agree. They definitely have to make something happen before this trade deadline in the receiving area, because we can say that, give these guys time and, hope they'll develop. Every year for Mahomes is a chance to win a Super Bowl. We can't do that. We can't just hope. We have to win now. So they are at 3. for obvious reasons, because at 1 and 2, we've got two just absolutely stacked teams in every way possible. They are on a collision course for the 3rd of December. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy until that. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy for the whole season, because we could get some very, very epic games between these two teams. But there's one team that is getting the job done, and that's great. And there's one team that is blowing everyone out that they're playing. Now, you don't want to peak too soon. We're in October. How long can this team keep blowing other teams out? We'll see. But number 2, it is the Eagles. What can we say about them? The trenches just overwhelm you. And I cannot wait to see these matchups. The Eagles offensive line versus the 49ers front 7. That is going to be just a car crash of just physicality. But then we've also got the Eagles defensive line, which again is jumping off the page. I guess the one question mark I do have is about why are the Eagles giving up so many yards in the air? I still don't understand it. They're not giving up, a great deal of points every week. They've had a few, but I just don't know. Maybe it's just we're so early in the season that they're not yet at their full capacity. But they are giving up a lot of yards in the air. The offense is definitely growing. As I said earlier, I thought Hurts played really well. The stats may not really show that, but I just think in the context of the game, he made a lot of big throws that I haven't seen him make in previous weeks. We know he's good with his legs, but he's being asked to throw more now because I think teams are sort of at least trying to sell out on the run. So I definitely see this team just continuing to get better and better and better. Number 1, how about them Niners? They are still number 1 on Jay's top 5. The first team to survive as number 1 for consecutive weeks. We've scored 30 in every game. This week, 42. Top 3 in points allowed, top 3 in yards allowed. The defense is thriving. We haven't seen the best of Nick Bosa yet. Instead, we've been seeing, and I'm going to keep calling him by his nickname, the gravedigger that is Javon Hargrave. He is blowing shit up every week.
He's a unit.
My goodness me, you better double him because one-on-one in this unit, he's having a field day.
He's a unit of his own. He's giant.
He's giant. I look at the offense, and right now, and I try not to be biased, but I don't know if there's a more complete set of weapons. You've got CMC, you've got Debo, you've got Ayuk, you've got Kittle, you've got Kyle Patrick Juszczyk when you want to use him. But you've got others. You've got the rookie Bell. You've got Purdy. You've got a great offensive line, great schemer. Juwan Jennings, who's clutch on 3rd down for us. Number 1. And I would say right now, no disrespect to the Eagles, but it's not close. They are number 1, and they deserve to be.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Jay. And Paul, your top 5 teams for week 5.
So my top 5, I am conscious of not overreacting to what I've seen, especially this last week. So I've got, from 5 through to 1, I've got Miami at number 5. I've got Miami at number 5. They are not built to go on the road into Buffalo in January and beat the Bills. But we don't know that game's going to be in Buffalo. And we don't know that, like, it's not going to be in Kansas City. But the signs from Miami are that they're a track team who need a fast track, fast conditions. But there was one bad piece of news coming out of Miami this week, and that is their running back, A-Chain, is out for a month. Yeah. That's big. So how can they survive through this month? But Miami at number 5. Number 4, I've got the Bills. They dropped to number 4. They were number 3 last week. They just reminded me of how unbalanced they are. So it's all Josh Allen. And that's great. That's great because Josh Allen is great. But you've got to have some sort of run. When Josh Allen is your quarterback and Josh Allen is your biggest weapon and he's your best running back, that's a problem. Because eventually he's going to break down. And yeah, like they've got to find some sort of running game from somewhere, or they're not going to, if they do make it out of the AFC, they're not going to beat the Niners or the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They just won't. They're just not balanced enough. Look at how balanced those two teams are. It's just not, they need to do a better job of, so Buffalo, prime candidate, go and get a running back. When Jonathan Taylor was out there, there's some veteran running backs who still are unemployed. Go and get a running back. Just help Josh Allen. He's your best chance of winning a Super Bowl ever. The Bills have never won a Super Bowl ever. Like, help him out. Number 3, the Chiefs. I agree with what you guys have said. They do need to help Mahomes, but he can do it, and he's showing us that he can do it. And they're winning games like with methodical. They'll kill you with 1,000 cuts rather than like 200-yard receiving games from Tyreek Hill like it used to be in the past. They haven't got the weapons, but they do have the best weapon in Mahomes, and he's going to win. He's going to win enough games for you to probably be the number 1 seed in AFC. I do worry for them though, going up against potentially the number 2 and number 1 in my power rankings. That would be in this order: the Eagles number 2. We haven't seen what they're capable of. I think they'll just turn it on as and when they need to. And we're only going to see that, I think, when they play the Niners later on in the season. What I pray for is that these two teams, the Eagles and the Niners, make it to that game and make it to the playoffs unscathed, because we all know what happened last year with the Niners at the Eagles in the NFC title game. We were robbed of the contest, a heavyweight contest that it should have been. So that's what I hope for in the NFC. And I'm just surprised in how the NFC is top loaded, and the AFC has some serious teams. But going into the season, we all thought the AFC, the Super Bowl champion, should come from the AFC. The AFC is stacked. Turns out the AFC is probably stacked with, probably above average teams. The NFC is top loaded with these juggernauts of the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles and the Niners. Definitely not the Cowboys. The Niners are just so well-rounded. Coach, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then your versatile player in Deebo Samuel. The defensive players that they have, just, it doesn't matter that they're not weak, but that's their weakest part of their team in the secondary, because the pass rush will get home before it even becomes a problem. And by the way, the secondary played immense against the Cowboys. So don't know how much of a weakness that is. The Niners, I just really hope that the Niners and the Eagles make it to that game unscathed. An honourable mention to some teams who are coming up in the rails of my top 5. Bengals, just because Joe Burrow can now actually step into his throwing motion, which is, like we said, bad news for the rest of the AFC. The Seattle Seahawks, who quietly are a pretty damn good roster, by the way, and the Detroit Lions, who are just handling business. And we forget week 1 went into Kansas City and beat Mahomes. Well, Kadarius Toney beat Mahomes, but the Lions played a solid game, and Detroit are just handling business very quietly, and that division's going to be theirs. So we'll see what the Lions can do moving forward. But yeah, that's my top 5.